That snap election that was theorized towards the end of last week became a reality. On Sunday, Justin Trudeau shambled his ass up to the Governor General's house, dissolved Parliament, and September 20th, there's going to be another election. Now, for all intents and purposes, it's mostly just going to end up being the exact same kind of formation. There's a slight chance, there's an outside chance that the Liberals end up pulling a majority, which would, be detrimental to most of society. But then at the same time, it's just going to be a minority government because, as you can see here, I just got the initial polls that are pulled up here. And the red dots are the Liberal Party, the blue dots are the Conservatives, orange or NDP, green and blue at the bottom for Bloc and for the Green Party, obviously. It's really for the major parties, one against all. So unless the Conservatives magically pull a fucking majority out of their ass, which I don't know would be a good thing at this point. Would it be better than a Liberal majority? Of course, but we've got different shades of shit at this point. It's like, do you prefer a nice firm log on your chest, or do you just like a big old runny salad shit? Like, what's the fucking difference, okay? You aren't gaining any ground, and a part of me in the back of my head just really wants the Conservative Party to crash and fucking burn, but then with the situation in the world right now and vaccine passports and interprovincial travel getting shut down, and it's all just so much, and it just kind of demoralizes me. But then at the same time, if you take the fucking L right now, then the party can kind of just reform and figure out what the fuck it's doing. Because you guys know, if you've been following my Canadian coverage, I harbor no love for the Liberal Party, for the NDP, for the Bloc, for the fucking Green Party out there, obviously. And the Conservative Party, I probably hold in a higher esteem of just absolute hatred, because they've allowed all of this shit to happen. They've signed on to most of it, and they're supposed to be, we're the opposition, we're the right party out here, we're for conservative values, it's in the name, and yet you sign on for vaccine passports, yet you sign on for all of these stupid mask mandates. Where you stand on vaccine mandates, I don't know, but I really don't care, because you've allowed all of this stuff to happen unabated, and what you're concerned with is totally fucking stupid. And it's led to ineffective opposition that just allows these leftists to run wild, because realistically, there's no difference between the NDP and the Liberal Party. Might as well just be one at this point, okay? There's many a time throughout history where the different right parties, especially within my lifetime, because we used to have the Progressive Conservative Party, let's get specific, and the Reform Party. They used to split the vote when it came to conservative voters out there in Canada, which is a small bloc in and of itself, but eventually they joined up together, became the Conservative Party of Canada, and Stephen Harper led a very successful economy and country for the better part of a decade and change. And then the little drama teacher with a famous last name came on and fucking shit all over all of that progress, and now we have more conflicts than we have solutions. And now, for whatever reason, he's calling a fucking snap election that might result maybe in a slim majority. But really, like, you take a look at these polls, and yeah, they aren't optimistic, most of them, except for like Forum Research, which has the Conservatives up overall by 3 points, which is just fucking bizarre in and of itself. Most of it's like tepid, mid-single digit leads for the Liberal Party. And then you got some of these fucking weirdo results where it's like plus 13, plus 14. It's like polling Biden in fucking Wisconsin. Plus 17, yeah, really, pal? That audit's sure going to be a kick in the nuts. But when it comes to Canadian polling, yeah, it's pretty much your same rogues cast of characters. You got Ipsos, you got Abacus, you got Nanos, you got just the regular Canadian shills that are all bought and paid for by the media. So when they say that it's going to be like maybe potentially a Liberal majority, it's more than likely just going to end up with, maybe 130, 135 seats for the Liberals, maybe high end like 150. You need 170 for a majority. I think between the Liberal Party and the NDP, they're probably going to end up making a coalition government, and it's just going to be the exact same fucking situation, okay? I personally hope the Conservative Party fucking crashes, okay? Even if they are the official opposition, I hope that because right now, what is it, like 100 and change they have seats in the House? If it were up to me, 80. I just fucking completely bomb these guys, because they are on the wrong track. Get in a better, more effective leader. I think Stephen Harper's scratching to get back at this, and that would be a wonderful thing. So another minority government, and then hopefully something happens, and then we have another snap election, because shit like this always seems to happen. It always just kind of goes back and forth for a minute before we end up with a clear vision of the future. It happened when I was really, really, really young, and maybe potentially just before I was born, where we had a conservative government that just kind of devolved into nothingness and then just kind of batted back and forth. And then eventually we had Jean Chrétien for a long time, and then it just kind of went back and forth with minority governments. And then we had Stephen Harper, and now we're just seemingly back in this situation of a revolving door of minority governments. But I could be completely off, and it could be like a 71 or a 171, 172 squeaker for the Liberal Party, and then we get 4 years of uninterrupted Justin Trudeau tyranny, which is great if you love corrupt shit. Like I've been saying for the past couple of days, or at least when we were first talking about this, doing a little preview of what's to come, Bill C-19, which takes all of the fun and interesting stuff that happened during the 2020 election down in the United States, brings it up to Canada, and we all have our own little special slice of hell to deal with by September 20th, which eventually we'll get the results of the election, probably sometime around Thanksgiving, something like that. But we got some sort of rules, which is always great because there's a shortened campaign, brand new procedures. You got McCoof provisions that are going around as well. It's going to be a total shit show. So let's take a look at some of the new rules, what you can expect going forward. Elections Canada website now features the revised rules for voting in the upcoming snap election with emphasis on how to vote in advance. Interesting. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau officially dropped a writ on Sunday, and federal elections in Canada will now take place on September 20th, 2021. This comes as no surprise, as rumored beforehand regarding the extremely early election call has now simply been confirmed. Elections Canada explanation on the new rules opens up with, to vote, you must be a Canadian citizen. Cool. Be at least 18 years old on election day and prove your identity and address. That's racist. Why are you doing that? Stop it. Your health and safety is our priority. Measures are in place to keep you safe no matter how you choose to vote. Plan early during a pandemic that'll never end, which can take a bit more time. Make a plan and choose the voting option that works best for you. You can also vote at any time. Sweet. A lot of the candidates haven't even been selected yet, but feel free to start voting, because the Liberals need to know the number that they need to get over. It then goes on to explain different ways to vote in 4 different categories. On election day, on advanced polling days, by mail, and by Elections Canada office. Citizens will have the options to vote at their assigned polling stations from Friday, September 10th through Monday, September 13th. From 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And then they can also vote by mail if they wish, which must be done by 6 p.m. on Tuesday, September 14th. Likewise, Elections Canada's office will allow for voting before September 14th at 6 p.m. So you have the weekend before to do early voting. You still have on-day voting. You have mail-in voting. You have drop boxes on all these fucking corners, apparently. Any opportunities to fuck this up, but it is the federal government. They know what they're doing, right? Yeah, this is going to be a total fucking shit show, but yeah, apparently they got a plan for it. But let's get into some contentious topics and why I don't think a majority for the Liberal government is really going to happen. I think that there are a lot of people holding back their real feelings on what's going on with the different provisions that are going on. Let's just keep that nice and vague to accommodate all of this fucking insanity that's going on in Canada right now, because we're trending definitely towards Australia and New Zealand and less towards the likes of Florida and Texas. Godspeed and quick recovery to Greg Abbott, who has apparently contracted the coof, but he should be fine. Governor of Texas, by the way. But we talked about this a couple days ago. Trudeau can't say which or what would happen to public employees who refuse a vaccine. Every federal employee is supposed to get the jab, and then the jab, and then once the booster comes out, the booster jab. So what's going to happen to them? Well, they also said that they would just be fired, but is that something that was collectively bargained with the unions? Don't know, but it was all for your safety, so he just figured he could go ahead and throw that out, just like several other things out there. And people would just go along with it because he has a nice smile and boy, isn't his hair perfectly coiffed. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau could not answer if federal employees would be fired or what consequences they would face if they absolutely refused to receive the vaccine during a press event in Longueuil, Quebec, because he doesn't like to go to anywhere contentious, so he'll just stay and he'll campaign in Quebec and Ontario. Trudeau said that the matter was still being discussed with the public service unions, of course. Now, will that be where it's held up? Not really. They're probably just discussing how many stacks they need. We will be working with the public sector or service unions very closely to make sure that the public service in Canada will get vaccinated. It's a decision we took a number of weeks ago, said Trudeau, despite the policy having just been released days ago. Oh, he's such a liar, but nobody will hold him to a task for it. Not in the mainstream media, not Global, not CTV, not City TV, and definitely not CBC, because that's where they get most of their fucking funding from. What about Afghanistan? What is Canada going to do with that? We had hundreds of troops die over there meaninglessly because it all just went up like a fart in the fucking wind. So are they going to be recognizing the Taliban as the government? Are they going to be siding with fucking reality? Are they going to be telling all of those servicemen and women who've been affected by that 20-year-long failure and everything that you fought for, everything that you sacrificed was for naught, and those guys that pushed out to begin with, yeah, they're back, and nothing you can really do about it, and thanks for the nice shiny new trinkets. Well, apparently today, as of the 17th, Trudeau's not going to recognize the Taliban as the legitimate government. Will he recognize them as a government? I don't know. He probably hasn't got his upload for the day. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau walked back to comments made yesterday by Foreign Affairs Minister Marc Garneau, saying that Canada officially has no plans to recognize the hostile Taliban regime as the official government of Afghanistan. When they were in government 20 years ago, Canada did not recognize them as government. They have taken over and replaced a duly elected democratic government by force and are a recognized terror organization by Canadian law, said Trudeau, but he can go ahead and change that because I'm sure it's racist or something. During Monday's CBC Power and Politics, Foreign Affairs Minister Garneau could not definitively answer whether the Liberals would support a Taliban-led Afghanistan. It's like the Liberal Party in the UK not really knowing what to do with the Jewish question. What about our lovely Conservative Party of Canada? What's their platform on all this kind of stuff? Other than just, I don't know, putting out cringy as fuck ads and not really putting forward a platform that inspires any sort of change or anything really. Are they hitting on the important points? No. If he gets if Erin O'Toole somehow becomes the Prime Minister, he's going to give you December off from paying the GST. He's going to give you a 5% break for the month of December. What a fucking stupid platform. This motherfucker. Literally, what does that fucking inspire? Oh, you're going to temporarily remove the GST? Or who's that going to appeal to? That doesn't appeal to your fucking base. Permanent tax cuts, permanent tax credits, some sort of a fucking incentive, lifting mandates, getting out of our fucking way so we can go ahead and pursue the life we want to live. No, if you want to go down, you want to buy something from the store, the 5%'s on us. That's really going to fuck up the Bricks business model for their Boxing Day sales because it's normally they like to pay the GST around that time. I hope he doesn't even get elected in his home fucking riding. I want this motherfucker to be marched out of the House of Commons in disgrace. He is the worst leader of the Conservative Party in fucking history. I know there's been some questionable people in charge, but I wouldn't be surprised if this motherfucker doesn't have a panel van that says free candy on the side of it. Conservative Party leader Erin O'Toole announced a month-long GST holiday to provide pocketbook relief to Canadian families and support local retailers. Blow me. It's getting harder and harder to afford the basics. Foods for families, gas for the car, clothes for the kids. I'm just a regular old fucking knock-around Joe, aren't I? The kids need some new clothes and, oh my god, how are we going to balance the budget? I know. GST for a month. Fucking stupid. Just get out of our way. You know why it's harder to buy gas? You know why it's harder to put food on the table for the big old family? Because you keep locking shit down, you fucking retard. Jesus Christ. And it will only get harder this fall. Is that a promise? As Canadians look forward to getting to spend more time with families, they also know that the holiday season is an expensive time of year. Here's a couple of little pieces of crumbs so you plebs stop fucking complaining. All purchases at retail stores will be tax-free for a month. Ooh, this will put $1.5 billion back in Canadians' pockets. Why? If you keep locking us down and just giving us enough fucking crumbs to survive but not enough to prosper, where's all that money supposed to come from? If you aren't buying anything because you can't afford to go out and fucking buy things, how are you supposed to get this rebate back? Go fuck yourself. Canadians will not need to file out any onerous application. Cool! Oh, so nobody has to fucking punch it into the computers because you farmers out there in Alberta and Saskatchewan are too stupid to log on online. Go fuck yourself. You can't see that, but I just, did the old cup check. Mostly because his head is shaped like a dick, and I think he needed something for reference. Because he hasn't seen his own in years. Not because he's fat or anything, it's because it's been lopped off forever. But in all honesty, I don't want to end on a down note. And plus, I finally got some campaign material turned up at the house today, and I'm just going to share that with you guys for a minute. But I also want to offer an alternative. The People's Party of Canada. It's kind of poorly framed, mostly because I don't know who's hosting their fucking campaign website, GeoCities, but yeah, it's the People's Party of Canada.ca. Should have got a much more concise URL, but I know it's a shoestring budget, and mostly they're polling somewhere around 3.2%. It's not impressive, but that number could be a hell of a lot higher because this is the second time they were just formed for 2019's formal election. They got, 3.2%. But if there's enough people who know about this party, that number can get pushed up, okay? And this could be the foundation for an actual conservative, right-leaning, libertarian, populist fucking movement here in Canada to create a foundation in which somebody can rest assured that there is a future for this country that is worth fighting for. Because it's going to be a tough decade or so. Unless the Conservative Party swiftly gets their head out of their ass, but that's not fucking likely anytime soon. Especially with the leadership that they have in place. And they're still assembling their forces here. They're still getting their candidates in places. I would show you the one that I have for the Grand Prairie riding, but there's nothing about this guy. I don't know if they plucked him out of the witness protection program, but you search the guy's name and there's nothing that shows up. I don't even know if he lives in Grand Prairie, for Christ's sakes. Sean McLean or something like that? I don't want to be telling tales out of school, but that's who's apparently supposed to be in my riding, and I would definitely like to vote for him if I knew what his platform is. He's on the right team, at least in my opinion, for the time being, and probably in future videos over the next month, obviously before the election, because that would be one of the most relevant on. We'll be putting forward more of a focus on the PPC, because it's the party of the future for this country. At least it's the platform. I don't know if it's going to be the party per se. Work on the name. It evokes a lot of images of really bad totalitarian dictatorships. But little optic faux pas aside, they're actually against mandates. They're actually against forcing people to do shit for the fucking sake of the government and for the greater good, comrade. They just want people to fucking live their life. They see prosperity as something that is easily attainable for people who just want to work hard. People who want to take their future into their own hands. They're the only party. They're the only major party who's doing that. And there's some big names that are associated with the party right now, at least in the online sphere. So big is a relative term, of course. One of the biggest lawyers online, Viva Fry, David Freiheit. He's running in Quebec in his riding right now. Like I said, this website is, I don't know, fucking Angel Fire, GeoCities, wherever the fuck is being hosted. It doesn't even have him down as being the official candidate for the riding, but he's been campaigning with Maxime Bernier for a while now, and he's officially the candidate for the riding. So I don't know, hopefully they can get their shit together. But it's all about creating that foundation, moving up from that 3.2% of the vote share to the high single digits, low double digits. That would be really cool because it would show that there is a need, there is a want for this platform, the freedom platform. It's weird that we have to advocate for that and we're hoping to get something around fucking double digits, but I'd love to spotlight the candidate for the party in my writing, but all I can do is show you some of the fucking useless shit. I'll go ahead and switch to the camera for this one that I received today in the mail from my candidate from the Conservative Party of Canada. Chris Workington, I think he's on like his second or third campaign, and you know what? This is the first piece of little propaganda that he put out there, and it's addressing one of the big talking points for the Conservative Party, and no, it's not about vaccine mandates, or it's not about fighting back against the encroachment of big government. It's about equalization payments, you know? All those things that'd be very important. I've talked about them before when we did the the Wexit video from before, but yeah, that's super important. But if nobody's allowed to fucking make a living for themselves, how are they supposed to contribute taxes to the government to be unfairly redistributed? You're putting the cart before the horse. You're not addressing the core principles. Like, you're just fucking missing the point. And he's in such a safe riding. It's like a plus 33 conservative riding, so he's definitely going to get fucking reelected again. Mostly to the detriment of the entire region. And he's a young dude, and he can ride this out for literally as long as he wants to. That's another bone of contention, because there's no term limits in fucking Canadian politics whatsoever. Once you're there and you can get reelected, fucking be there until they have to pry your dead corpse out of that fucking chair. But here's the type of shit that they are prioritizing with the Conservative Party of Canada, which is important, but again, you're missing the fucking point. This is not what people care about, okay? Prior to me doing the research on equalization payments, I didn't know a whole hell of a lot about it. I knew that Alberta was definitely the only place where money was being made in the entire country. I just didn't realize how badly we were getting fucked over it, but this is not at the front of people's minds. For the reasons that Erin O'Toole outlined, oh yeah, we're gonna drop the GST for a fucking month. That's the reasons people care about. Putting food on the table. Having extra money at the end of the day. You know, having the disposable income to do something profitable with it. Not having to worry about if in a month's time you're allowed to fucking go to work. Not fucking equalization payments. Friends, recently Erin O'Toole was here in Alberta to address the issue of equalization and the unfair treatment of Albertans by the Liberal government in Ottawa. Recently, Erin O'Toole was in Alberta, which is code for Edmonton or Calgary probably, which are, 4 or 8 hours away from me, so it's not like I really care, and it's not like he really fucking gave a shit about what you're doing. It is no secret, all in bold letters, by the way, it is no secret that the current equalization and transfer program is unfair to Albertans. Thanks. Since 1967, Albertans have contributed more than $600 billion to the rest of Canada. I also, pointed that out, but what do I know? I'm not an elected official. I'm just a little asshole with a fucking, well, not little, with a decent microphone and a cheap webcam. But you know what? Hey, you got the fucking official campaign material here. And an average of more than $20 billion a year over the last decade. My conservative colleagues and I are committed to equalization fairness and are standing up for Albertans in Parliament. Thank God. I'm glad somebody is. Sure. To address the fact that Albertans have been asked to pay more than our fair share, Conservatives have tabled a bill in Parliament to restore fairness to equalization. Not him specifically. Chris Workington couldn't be asked to do anything in fucking government other than just collect a check. Our proposals will strengthen the principles of fairness, transparency, and accountability. Nice vague terminology, Chris. In Canada's equalization regime and ensure that provinces like Alberta receive the compensation we deserve. I think secession would be better, but whatever. Our federation should mean being there for one another in good times, but also in challenging times. No, you make the money, you keep the money, everybody else can fend for themselves. We'll come together on certain things like transversing the country. That's what a country's for. I don't want to be subsidizing fucking failed cheese projects out in Quebec. You get what I'm saying? For the last 6 years, the Ottawa Liberals have looked for every excuse to attack Albertans. It's been much longer than that, but okay, whatever. That's all you've been politically aware for, and it was just an easy fucking payday for you. I get it. I encourage you to read more about my changes, or about the changes my conservative colleagues and I are championing on the reverse of this letter. Don't fucking care. Fixing the equalization rebate is the first step in restoring fairness for Albertans in Confederation. There will be more to come. I fucking doubt it. Fuck off. Get out of here. What a useless statement. I will not be voting for him. If that's the first piece of propaganda that you want to put out there, if that is the first piece of campaign material that you want your constituents to see, those people who blindly voted for you twice, 3 times over at this point, and you think that shitty fucking line of, oh, we're paying the East too much. You think that that's front of mind for most people? Bad first impression. You ain't getting my vote on that one, okay? And unless the People's Party of Canada, we can just go ahead and put it back to them for a minute. Unless they, put out something of substance, specific to Grand Prairie, might be sitting this one out, okay? And that might be the theme of a lot of stuff when it comes to this election here, because there's not a lot of confidence being inspired to the government right now. You take a look at a bunch of those different opinion polls that are out there of how the federal government is handling a whole host of issues, not just the COOF, not just the economy. They're very small sample sizes, and they're very skewed towards the Liberals and that sort of ideology out there, okay? So it's not exactly representative of what's going on. So the people who would normally vote Conservative, who would just kind of have ebbs and flows as to where they would give their vote, you just take a look at what's going on right now and who is running and what their platforms are, and they don't inspire anything other than maybe a little bit of upset stomach. So as of right now, I'm completely undecided if I will vote, but who I will vote for, it's pretty much decided. It's the PPC's vote to lose at this point, and I know it's basically like throwing it out into the wind. Like I said, it's like a 33 plus conservative riding. If I can change a few people's point of view on this, well, I think that would be a job well done. So there's going to be a lot of Canadian politics coverage, so at least over the next month or so. So if that's interesting to you, that's a good thing. And if not, I put out 2 other videos a day, and there might be talk of a second channel here. So, whoops, let that one slip. With that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.